Craze. Today I have again an amazing guest here. This is Chelsea. If you have not heard me talk about Chelsea, what are you doing on my channel first? She's the chief product officer at Sunblink, one of the big hats of Hello Kitty Island Adventure, I guess. And we did an interview back like 6 months ago, something like that. And she agreed to come back again for another interview because a lot of your questions I was not able to answer. Some of them I missed myself because, and I got new questions. So let's go answer that. Okay, so first of all, does everybody at Sunblink play Hello Kitty Island Adventure? And is it a requirement or a guideline or...
So we have a few different ranges, right? We have a few people who play every single day, to various degrees of intensity. Me, Nico, Phoebe, I think all of us are in the game every day, playing on a normal save file. So no, no debug, no time skipping, no bonus items, just play like a regular old player. Then we do play tests multiple times a week at the company. And for that, it's a lot of the engineers hopping in and doing more focused play tests on certain parts of the game. And a lot of times it'll be a few people playing and then a lot of people watching them and kind of just calling out like, that didn't seem to flow quite right, or that's a magenta texture that's missing. And then of course we've got internal and external QA who are playing every single day, right? Hours, hours a day. So yeah, we don't like enforce people to like play their own saves. It's good information to see who does play and who doesn't.
Mhm.
But we do play tests and QA testing all the time.
Yeah, of course I was expecting, but I was wondering if everybody who develops actually enjoys playing the game they make or not.
A surprisingly large
Okay,
percentage. Like like
that's
our art
good.
director is always talking about bugs that he's finding on his save and being like, "Oh, wow, we should have done that with the lighting," or "Oh, I wanted to do this with the, that outfit." So it's really fun to see that. And then yeah, several of our engineers are on their own saves a lot. So yeah, we've got we've got a lot of people who play, probably like the highest percentage of players in a company I've been at in quite some time.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's a good metric then, I guess, for the game
Yeah.
itself. Tell me if it's a secret. You're pregnant with your second child.
I am, yes.
It's 3 weeks away, and so do you play with your first child, and does she like it, or how is it?
Yeah, whenever I'm playing around her, she's always like, "Oh, is it my turn yet? Is it my turn yet?" She's 5.5, so she mostly just likes running around and collecting things. As soon as I taught her how to collect things, she just goes around and anything that she sees that she can collect, she just taps away and has fun. Doesn't really care about the story at all, doesn't really care about any of the mechanics, just loves going around and picking things up. So of course, me as like a busy mom, I'm like, please go collect items for me. Because usually, like, I only ever have time to ask the collector null to do stuff. Like, I can rarely have the time to go ask characters. So it's very helpful. And then the other thing she loves is she loves swimming. So
Okay.
she'll jump into any water that she sees and try to dive. And sometimes she'll just spend like 20 minutes just wandering around Rainbow Reef in circles, but she's happy. So
Nice. So you have to teach her which resources is the rarest, the ones that you really. Oh, go look around Mount Hothead because I'm needing something.
yes.
No, I was wondering if are you not afraid that she is breaking your save or something like crafting with a rare material? And I've seen people saying I have a special other save for my kid, and so you let her play with yours.
Yep, I just let her play with my raw save file. I've never shown her the crafting bench,
Okay, good,
so
good.
that's one of my secrets. And I never let her play like from the beginning. So she has no access to like the main menu or anything that could actually
Oh yeah, yeah.
break my save.
That's
Also, luckily, I'm always taking support codes when I run into stuff, so I've got a lot of backups
good,
if
good,
worst
good.
should come to worst.
That's something I should do more often. Like, so you just generate a support code and then you're good for that one save, right?
Basically, yeah. So we can go in and we can get the save file data that's associated with that support code. And every save file data also has a backup data. So between the two of those, if you have a recent support code, you've got a pretty good chance of us being able to find something recent-ish to restore.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yes.
How many people at Sunblink were already fans of Sanrio and Hello Kitty before starting this project?
I would say a lot of people knew about Hello Kitty and very, very few were actually fans. And now that's like totally flip-flopped, where almost everyone, like when we do our Zoom meetings, you'll see like our art director's obsessed with Hangyodon. So he's got tons of Hangyodon merch in his background. If you remember from our first video, obviously my background was all Cinnamoroll all the time. Nico loves Pachaco. She's got Pachaco toys from when she was actually a kid. So she's got like
That's
yeah,
amazing.
like old school, like early Sanrio merch, which is super, super cool to see. And then, of course, we've got, big fans of Kuromi and Keroppi. We have a bunch of Pom Pom Purin fans. Everyone's like,
Really?
I appreciate nap vibes. I'm like, same, same.
This is so cool because it's really a character for everyone. They have so many different characters. It's not like everybody loves Hello Kitty or the same. Even in my friends, when I buy those figurines and I have duplicates or the ones that I don't want, I'm not afraid because I have somebody to gift it to because so many people like different characters.
Exactly.
That's so cool. That's so cool. You worked for a big free-to-play games like Farmville and things like that, and I've listened to your talks about how to respect players and how to not make your game grindy and things like that. And so, is your experience on Hello Kitty Island Adventure trying to be kind and respect people's time and everything come from your extreme days of working on free-to-play games that were just here to grab the money off of people?
Yeah, I think two factors in that. The first one is absolutely. Like that's that's been the drum that I beat, right? For most of my career is that if you want people to play a game for a long time, you have to respect them, you have to respect their time, you have to respect their money. And there's all sorts of ways to do that mechanically, right? And I think one thing that I've been proud of in Hello Kitty is that we are trying new things all the time just to test out like how does it feel? Like, does it let people who are like me and only have like 10 minutes a day still feel like they're fully participating? Does it let people who want to play for 5 hours have a place where they can go and just do something for 5 hours? And balancing that is incredibly difficult, but really, really rewarding when you get it right. So yeah, I feel like this has been kind of a perfect place to put all of that kind of learning and theory and philosophy to test. And recently I got to be a part of kind of a big game design sort of think tank. And it was amazing to see how many people had both played and been really inspired by some of the stuff we do in Hello Kitty. I felt like an overwhelming amount of pride and gratefulness that they'd kind of like seen what we were trying to do and thought that it was valuable and were trying to integrate it into their games. So being able to kind of take this and make an impact on, potentially a larger portion of the industry is really, really rewarding. And then second is that we're on Apple Arcade, right? So it's subscription, not free to play. And I think that more than anything allows us to do live services kindly and do live services safely. When you're having to focus just on profit, right? As your highest level metric, you're just forced to do things in a way that feel worse, right? Like there's no good way to constantly be poking people to pay. And it never feels good as someone with less money to see people with more, go out and be able to have all of these things that you can't afford or that you're, affording in an unhealthy way.
Mhm.
So if it weren't for Apple Arcade, like we wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the kind of innovative live services stuff we're trying. So we're kind of forever deeply, deeply grateful that that was the platform that kind of set the tone overall for how the game was going to be. Made a huge difference.
There's not that many new games that are on like first developed for Apple Arcade and that are live services. So are you one of the only ones in that genre?
I think we're definitely, we're definitely the one that's kind of like in focus right now. There
Yeah.
are a few others, and I think that, cozy games are important to Apple Arcade. They see the value in the genre, especially to their audience. And I think it's really important for them to have a diverse audience. So you can look at the charts and you see sports games, you see card games, you see cozy games. And I think they really want to keep it that way, and have, you know, at least from what I've been able to tell, have that diversity of appeal. So I wouldn't be surprised if other similar games, continue to come up on the platform.
That's awesome. Okay, this is a big question for everybody. Kind of officially or not, you said that it won't be crossplay in the different platforms that we have. So meaning that if you play on Apple Arcade and on the Switch, you will not be able to play multiplayer together. Is
Right.
it because it has different business models, or is it really a tech issue from one of the platforms or the others? Um,
It's a lot. So yeah, some of the platforms have pretty strict limitations or force extra payments to allow for kind of cross-platform or certain types of online play. I think the biggest factor though is that when we were thinking through what the experience would be like, you can only do multiplayer with someone who's on the same version as you. And
mm,
because the update schedules are going to be so different between platforms, the chances of you being on synchronized versions is actually quite low. So even if crossplay was allowed, just by the version numbers, you'd probably only be able to connect maybe like a third or a fourth of the time. And we were
mhm.
like, at that point, it's going to be so confusing. It's going to be so frustrating. Like, it's going to be just a truly awful user experience. And we were like, I think it would be better to just say that's off the table than to try and potentially navigate something that's going to be a mess, just a user experience mess.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, yeah, a lot of other games manage to make that, but already now it's already a friction. Oh, I cannot connect. Did you check that you have the latest version
Yep.
on Apple Arcade? Oh, I it did not update automatically, so yeah, it's already a
Yep.
friction, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I'm devastated because I will not be able to play with my friends that I have been talking about this game for like a year and a half at that point, or I'll have to start over. I'm reaching 900 hours at the moment, so I will not start again.
Wow.
That's only at this point, it's only now less than an hour a day, so
Yeah.
it's not that much actually, but
Yeah.
probably I will try some of the other versions to make content, but we'll
Mm.
see.
I will say the new, if you start new at this point in time, it's going to be a very different experience from the
I
beginning,
totally
for sure.
imagine like in a week you can be on City Town or something like that. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely,
Uh,
definitely different feel if you start over again.
yeah,
So
that's
I'm looking forward to starting a new save. It should be fun.
so it will be 5 minutes on this one and 5 minutes on the other one. It's just you only
Right.
have 10 minutes.
I think what it's gonna be is I'm gonna play through on Switch until I open the gate, and I'm gonna be like, hey, little kid, you wanna play, and
Ah, that's a good
and then
thing.
let that be her save.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah, would you agree to talk more about the business model? So we on Apple Arcade will keep playing like normal with our 3 to 6 weeks updates and pay our subscription. And if you were playing on the Switch, you'll probably buy the game with one price first, and
Yep.
then you might have, like, for
It'll be
example,
a mix of free and paid DLC after that.
okay, so like the free DLC might be the spooky celebration and Hugs and Hurt celebration, things like that. But if you want to get City Town, you'll have to pay, and it probably will be bundled with also like the whole biome, something like that. So it will come later. So is that how I understood?
Yeah, so basically the things that are really hard to compartmentalize are things like the events. And we also want everyone to be able to enjoy the events at the same time. So the events we fully intend to just continue releasing as free content across all of our platforms. It both just doesn't feel good to charge for that, and also, again, with the timing of updates would be pretty rough to do. We're also always going to release things like, you know, if we add like bestie quests, right? We'd want everyone to have access to those because they're just part of like that core game experience. Um, but when you look at things like City Town and the second island, that's something where, it's a little bit easier to compartmentalize, and it has a lot of new functionality associated with it, or it will as we build out that second island. So that's something where, we'd want to try and get some reasonable kind of DLC cost for that for people on other platforms.
Okay. So I understood it correctly, but thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah. And everything's still a little bit in flux. So
Okay.
subject to change, obviously. It's a ways before our first DLC would come out. So
Oh yeah. That's a silly question, but you made this super cool song with an artist called MYLK, MYLK, and it was during this update was called Everything is Better with Milk. We were talking about milk a lot, like the cinema roll character that is called Milk, MILK. So is it pure coincidence? Really?
it was pure coincidence. Our audio director brought us like three different artists and was like, this is my top recommendation. And when I saw that her name was Milk and she'd done like work that was really close to our genre, was, a Japanese British person who kind of knew both sides of what we were doing. I was just like elated. Like it couldn't have been more perfect. Like it felt like
You did
everything
not
was
even
just,
listen to the other two,
yeah,
right?
right. It was just like it was all like suddenly synchronized, and it was like, yep, that's who we should go forward with. So it was a really fun experience, but
Perfect.
completely coincidental that her name was Milk.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But she was amazing. Actually, you picked the perfect person because she was absolutely perfect for this song. I still want to learn the dance though. Please come up with
Yes.
something.
I keep on, so my dance teacher who choreographed it keeps on having life stuff get in the way. But I think she and her dance partner are planning on putting out a video that actually teaches it. And if not, I will do it myself. So it'll happen one way or the other.
So, can you tell us about how you joined Sunblink? And so they already had a prototype to play Hello Kitty Island Adventure. You were not at the start of this, and how you find it, and how you got in.
So it was actually through the audio director. So I was kind of looking around, and I'm very, very good friends with the audio director's spouse. We'd known each other for 15 years. And so I'd known our audio director. I'd like gone to their wedding and everything. And he was like, we might, we're kind of looking for someone like you. I was like, okay, like let's see. And at first, like I was admittedly like super wary because I came in to do the interviews and I would have been the only person on the leadership team who was a woman. And that was like a big red flag for me because it was like eight-ish people and I was like the first woman and I was like, guys, it's not a good look. And they're like, we know it's not a good look. That's part of why we're so excited about you as a candidate. We understand we need help here. We're hoping you can help us hire up and bring in kind of additional diversity, especially because this is the game we're working on. Like we totally realize that this is something we need a huge amount of help in. And I was like, oh, okay, but I don't know that I'm willing to be that person, right? Like that's all just in most companies, that would be an incredible amount of emotional work, right? To go
Mhm.
in and to have to fight for diversity. And well, why should we hire, this person? And oh, well, why isn't just inviting our friends to, get hired? Why is that a bad thing? And so like having to explain all of those kind of like layers of unconscious bias was going to be a lot of work. Then I started actually talking to those folks, and they were like phenomenal, like some of the kindest, most genuine people I'd ever spoken to. And I was like, they're like serious about this. Like, this isn't lip service. This is like, you know, they went in and they did a salary analysis and they found that there was one female engineer who was getting paid like not equivalent to her peers. And they just spontaneously went in and raised her up to her peers because they were like, that's wrong. That's bad. That's not what we should be doing. And I respected the heck out of that, right? There was a time where one of the leads was using a word that's got associations with indigenous people, and I was like, hey, could we use this word instead? And he was like, oh man, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, thanks for bringing it up, and then never used the word again, and that was it. Like that was that. And so to have these people who like just genuinely want to do better and be better was phenomenal. And I've never felt like that supported going into an environment before. And then I played the prototype and I was like, oh, this game is going to be a huge hit. Like this is a no-brainer. But it's also designed like an upfront single purchase, right? So I was like, this is going to be amazing, but it needs to be a live service game, right? You guys are putting it on Apple Arcade, you're putting it on a subscription service, and it didn't even have an economy at the time. So I came in like 6 months before launch, kind of completely upended everything to like reframe it to be an ongoing sort of live game.
Really? Wow.
And caused a lot of caused a lot of friction. And the fact that people supported me in that and through that was just another reason why I'm so glad that I landed at this company because they were like, yeah, this is what needs done. Like we knew we knew going into this that like we've been so focused on kind of like the core game that people weren't paying attention to like what happens a month after launch or 6 months after launch or a year after launch. So I both felt like I got to come in and work with gold, but then also like make a really meaningful contribution so that it could last I think much longer than it might have without me, which was really, really cool. So that's my story. It was long and rambling. Sorry.
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so cool. So it's because of you that we play daily and not drop this game 2 months after. So yay.
That's the hope.
Before they hire you, they just were going to release that one like version of the game and that's it?
Well, they knew they wanted to do live services, but
Okay, but they
no
didn't
one
know
had
how.
had the time to think that through and figure out what
Okay.
that actually meant. So like you can look at Sunblink's first game, Hero-ish, which I played and I was like, this is beautiful. It's really innovative. Like it's kind of a weird mix of like a MOBA and I don't know. It was like very cool. And I was like, but I finished it in 4 hours and then I had nothing to do. And
Yeah,
that's not going to let a studio survive on a subscription
of
platform.
course. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, how can I help this like studio that makes these beautiful things like survive?
That's amazing. Can you explain the difference between Badzt Maru and Hangyodon's abilities for fishing?
So the last time I checked into this, one of them is about attracting more fish, and one of them is about attracting bigger fish. So
Bigger,
one is
like
just
in
like,
the huge
yeah,
instead of the
so
normal?
getting closer to the huge, and one of them is just about like frequency. So like you'll
Mhm.
get more fish faster with one, but you'll get bigger fish with the other. Can I remember which one is which? No.
That's okay. We'll figure this out. Okay.
Yes,
So
poke me and be like, what does the documentation actually say? And I will actually look it up because I did not get time leading up to this. I
that's okay.
apologize.
But I was really intrigued because I did not, it's not like something that you get a pop-up. You got three more of that, and so this is you don't really see that more fish is close to you or something like that. So
Mhm.
that was confusing. Thank you for
Yeah, I don't
clarifying.
think it's visually communicated
Yeah.
like at all. So
And speaking of that, what about bait? Because there's
no,
a bait and comic shop, and there's nothing about bait, and we can put bait on things, but does it ever do anything?
you sure can. So so Bait is like our game director's like baby, and every single milestone he's had it on the calendar to like redo the system and make it so that it was originally supposed to be a sink for extra food, right? Because you're able to make a lot of food. And once you kind of max out your friendship, there's not as much point to kind of giving food to folks. And we really wanted people to be able to experiment with all of the recipes, but it means you wind up getting this inventory that's filled with like, you know, plain cake. So he was like, that's what bait's for. Bait is so that you can use up all your plain cakes. Um,
Um,
I have no idea what bait actually does right now. I have a sneaking suspicion it doesn't do anything, or if it does, it basically mirrors Badzt Maru's ability, which is like slightly increases your chance of getting a huge fish. So in our game director's dream, you'd be able to use different types of food to like better get like if you're looking for like a small fish for a daily quest, you'd know what food to use to get small fish, or you'd know what to do to get huge fish.
oh,
He's talked about potentially having bait that overrides time of day. So if you had
oh.
Yeah, so you'd be able to fish with a certain bait, and even if it wasn't morning, you'd be able to catch a fish that's only available in the morning. So he's been working on that and planning that out. And it's just been an issue because, whenever we do our like cost benefit analysis on features, it's like the people who fish are going to fish and the people who aren't going to fish just aren't going to fish. And it just always winds up being there are other features that are going to have like a bigger impact on the community for less effort. But he really wants to get it done. And I think one day he's just going to like take 2 days and make it happen because that's the kind of person he is.
In a
But yeah,
hackathon, maybe.
yeah, in a hackathon, exactly. Oh, I know what secret news I get to reveal at the end of this.
Okay, I'm looking forward
Now,
to.
you've
Awesome.
sparked
So,
my
guys,
memory.
you need to stay until the end to hear the
Yep.
secret news. I don't know why I have so many questions about fishing and underwater. Can you also explain the corals? So when you recycle things in the recycling plant, you can either get the coral keys or the coral seeds, something
Seeds,
like that.
yeah.
And you can use them to grow different kinds of coral. I looked it up the other day and it says that it attracts different fish around the coral, but also you said that the fish underwater are just here to be beautiful
Aesthetics.
and it's
Yep.
not the one that you fish.
Yep.
So is
So
that
coral is purely aesthetic. There's no gameplay whatsoever.
okay?
It's all just what do you think looks nice? Go make your coral reef look a little bit nicer.
Okay. That changes the whole thing. I was like, let's spread and do a little bit of all of them. And so
You're like, I'm going to make a sustainable ecosystem with a little bit of these fish, a little bit of those fish. I like that
exactly.
approach though.
I was wanting to min-max it at the very beginning of the game to like, what is the best option? And apparently the best is the most beautiful for me. Okay, good to know, good to know. You recently introduced lock, and I was wondering if it does work on opening character hats for getting boxes.
It does not. So it only works on the fishing well and mini games.
Okay.
So those are kind of the two places. Since those are places where we didn't have any form of hard pity, we really wanted
Hmm.
to make up for that with the Lucky Star. Since character boxes have hard pity, we don't think it's as important to improve luck there because if you're a min-maxer, if you're gifting consistently, you should get those character hats within 1 to 3 months
Okay.
approximately of average play based on what we've seen. And we're like, that feels about right for us.
Mm-hmm. Another question for then the luck in the crane craze. So basically, it's just your skills that manage, like, can you do it or not? Does it influence what you get on all the boxes, the luck, or does the luck doesn't work at all on this one?
That's a great question. I actually don't know. I know that for everything else, what it does is it'll take the rarest outcome or outcomes and multiply their weighting by 3. So you get
Okay,
3x the weighting of anything that's like legendary
okay.
when you're pulling from it. But I have no idea how it manifests in the crane game.
I'm so sorry.
Should
I did not
Discord
ask
that to me.
you before, so I put you on the spot. I'm so sorry about this one.
No, just message me. I'll look into it.
Okay. Now I have two community questions from last time that we did not get to go. When will we be able to save outfits in a mirror or something like that? And I know that it's on your radar, but is it
Yes.
soonish?
We're
Soon
we're
TM?
hoping it'll wind up being a feature that lives in City Town. So yes, take that take that for what you will. But that is the hope, especially as we continue to kind of add more outfits and we have events like the spooky celebration. We definitely understand how much easier it would be if you just had a quick way to toggle between different looks that you've made. So it's definitely on our priority list. We think that it is a really good fit for City Town. So keep your eyes peeled.
Unlock it in City Town and then be able to use it everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And another question is, will you take more time to fix critical bugs when you have more platforms to handle?
Because the development cycles are just different across different platforms, they each kind of have their different windows. And so, for instance, if the Switch is only getting updated, every few months potentially, then you can expect that we devote one or two of those to finaling, polishing, fixing, all of that jazz. Whereas on arcade, when we're on our 6 week cycle, we really only have about like a week and half-ish to really devote to the finaling, the polishing, and the bug fixing. So the time is like basically proportionate to the size of the update, more or less. Um, but we've got a lot of outsourcing folks helping us now with additional platforms.
But I guess that meant also if you release and then there's something that's really bad. And so we have seen
When
that
has that
you're
ever happened?
actually able, I don't know, I've seen at least once that the day after we had a fix. So that you must have not slept that night at all of you. We felt so bad for you, but you will catch it first on arcade and then be able to test it more on the other platforms, I guess.
That's the hope, yeah. And also we're doing a lot more longitudinal testing on other platforms where people like play for a while and see what they run into. So we're hoping to catch more of the like bugs in the wild on other platforms just because we'll have the cycles to play for longer periods of time. Whereas longitudinal testing in a 6 week update cadence is really, really difficult.
Hmm.
We tried staggering our release cadences. So basically have half the team working for 12 weeks and then the other half working on
Oh.
12 weeks, 6 weeks apart. Um, and that wound up just leading to even more issues, unfortunately. But yeah, getting better fidelity of releases is something that we're continuously working on because we still haven't met our own standards for it, right? We're still at that point where it's like brace yourself for a hot fix, and it would really be fantastic for all of us to be able to like actually relax after an update instead of being like, oh God, what's
Um,
going to come out of the woodwork when this goes live?
yeah.
Um, just because of like different play styles, different time zones, people who've been playing for like a year and 3 months now. Um, so yeah, I think we'd love to get to the point where everything is more robust on release, and we've been iterating on our processes more or less from the beginning, adding folks, changing priorities. It's a work in progress for sure.
But you're doing such a great job. So the other day I was talking to somebody at Nintendo Switzerland and I showed him this game because he had never not seen it.
Hmm.
And he could not believe that you're only 35 people in the studio. Like just says like, whoa, this is insane. So yeah, you even impress people at Nintendo. So I think you're doing a great job, honestly. So that was all on my side, but you said that you had some secret thing that you
Yes.
wanted to
So
tell
we were
us.
talking, yeah, okay. So we were talking about hackathon. And a week or two ago, I teased a video that came out of one of our hackathons about furniture stacking.
Yeah.
And at the time, I said it was too memory intensive to ship, but that was a lie. We are actively working on it, and it will be released on October 30th as part of 2.1.
So that crazy amount? What?
Yep.
I thought it was just a concept, and then we're just happy if we can put food on the table, basically. Wow. Does that mean
Yeah.
that we'll also get the carpets and the lamps?
Carpets, I don't know how many we'll have in that launch, but yes, you'll be able to start layering things. So you'll be able to put, 6 pieces of food if you have a table big enough to fit 6 pieces. I
Yay!
know you'll be able to do it
Wow.
all out of edit mode, which people are all within edit mode, which people have been asking for forever. So we were thrilled about that making it in. And it was our game director again, because I told you that's kind of just how he is. He was like, this needs to be done. I'm going to take a weekend and I'm going to just make it happen, which was amazing because whenever we'd costed it out, it was like, that'll be like 6 weeks of engineering time. And
But
then
he
he
made it in
found a
one
way. Yeah.
weekend.
Well, he's also the one who made the prototype. So he knows like these weird ins and outs and everything. He's one of the most brilliant people I've ever worked with.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, we basically we were able to make it work. There's going to be overall limits to how many items you can have in a cabin, but it's a really high limit. So most people I didn't think shouldn't run into that. But basically we couldn't let you have like a cubic square room of, you know, radios or whatever. But
Um,
other than that, yeah, it should be more or less what you see in the video.
That's amazing. I think people will get excited about like six pieces of food on the table and also
I'm excited.
um appliances on the kitchen counters. I think this is most
Yeah, I have to make sure that works because the issue with that one wasn't actually placing it. It was what button do you get when you go up to interact with it? Because we only have a few buttons, and it was like, are you getting the
ah,
button to like make something at the espresso machine, or are you getting the button to place something on top of the counter that the espresso machine
I
is on?
see. I see. Hmm.
Yeah, so that was always the issue. It wasn't actually about putting it on the counters. We could have made it placeable on the counter from the very beginning, but then it was
Okay.
like it wouldn't let you actually use it. And we
Oh,
were
so
like,
it's
okay,
beautiful, but
eventually. Yeah.
okay, interesting.
Beautiful but
Interesting.
impractical. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'll have to see how he squared that.
Finger crossed that it works, but definitely food on the table. Because there's so many beautiful foods and only one space. So I keep having to put so many side tables everywhere just so I can display everything. And that's when I want to make it pretty. And usually it's like, oh, you need like 10 food. Let's put everything on the ground. That's fine. And then
I'm
I
looking
have
forward to
my
using the feasting table from Imagination Celebration. Just like putting all of the food on that. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited about it. It's gonna make me
oh
decorate again.
yes.
Because
Oh
I was the
yes.
same. I was like, I guess I just have to put all this food on the floor in a corner. Sorry, Grandpa.
Yeah, I have my beautiful houses that only have five cabins that are that beautiful. And then, oh, you need that. Let me put that. Okay, I'm never coming to your house anymore. I hope that you're in front because I don't want to see the mess that I made in this so I can get you. Eventually, I'm like, I'll redo the cabins to make them pretty, but I never took the time to do that, unfortunately. With
Exactly.
all the flowers that are coming weekly at that point. You said four event flowers by the end of the year?
I said 4 flowers.
Oh, okay. So no, I think you said three event flowers by the end of the year, but I saw four silhouettes. So I
Mm.
guess we're getting a do biome one. And it's okay. So it's not on City Town, and I th I think it might only be on Cloud Island because I think at some point you mentioned a flower there. Maybe we'll see. And I feel that icy peaks is the thing that you never want to touch anymore again. Oh no, no, no. Because you mentioned that maybe we'll have cabins like so finally this winter season we'll have icy peak beautiful things. So maybe also flowers there. Maybe. Okay, okay, we'll see about that.
I'm
But
just gonna sit here and smile.
four more flowers. Wow. Honestly, I'm not stressed out anymore because of the greenhouse. I'm like, okay, if I don't finish in that time, I can finish later. And so
As
that
long as you have one, as long as you have one flower in the greenhouse, you're fine.
yeah. Honestly, I've not have um my spawns in the greenhouse have been less fruitful in making new things
Mm.
as outside. I don't know if it's I don't know.
We've been investigating it because a few people were reporting that. Every time we look into it, like the the table, like the RNG table looks correct on our end. So we're not sure if it's because you're guaranteed the spawns, and so it's like a psychology thing where it's like I should be getting more because I'm getting more spawns, but that's not
Maybe that's
playing
the
out. But yeah, we haven't given up on it because just like the volume of people who have been like, it seems like the greenhouse is worse is, it's enough that we're like, something might be going on.
yeah, I
But
think
so
it's
far we haven't found anything.
just an impression. Yeah. Today I got two new colors of or was it one yesterday and one today of ball blossom, so I think it's actually decent, but it's taking me ages for the petunias, for example. I think I'm
Mhm.
still missing almost half of the colors.
Oh wow.
And but also I've been so busy that I'm not actively replanting like I made this color, so let me remove everything. So I think
Yeah.
maybe when I was more into that and actively I've made this color, let me remove all the other ones to make
Hmm.
more of that color, then I see more results. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably me, but yeah. I love flowers, so I'm excited. And I stopped counting the possibilities. Oh, can you give us a very vague number of how many other flowers can get the iridescent pattern, if there's any?
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no restrictions on iridescence.
So do you mean that every other single flowers that we have now can be iridescent? That is good, but that is also an
Insane.
insane amount of flowers to make. But
Don't count. Don't count them. Don't
it
count them.
will be gorgeous. Oh, a question. Then is it, you said it's not technically a pattern, it's just an effect.
So
So,
effects are slightly different than patterns. So
huh,
patterns
teach us.
have the secondary color that shows through. Effects are not going to, don't integrate a secondary color, right? They're
Okay.
kind of something that brings its own color and flavor. For a little bit, we tried being like, oh, but what if we put the secondary color as like part of the iridescence? And it honestly wasn't worth it. Like they were so similar, like you couldn't really even tell them apart. And we
Hmm.
were like, let's not do that. Effects just, and especially given some of the effects we have planned down the road, basically they'll just be their own kind of special overlay on
Okay.
top of the base color. So that's what kind of differentiates an effect from a pattern.
Thank you. So that means that then we can just do all the colors with all that effect and not thinking about making all the double.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about any of the hybrid secondary color
Good. So that means
giant
that it's
combinatory. Yeah,
less than I thought. Okay, so that's good, but cool. Thank you for explaining.
definitely.
Explaining. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for being such an amazing guest and answering all these questions for us. And if you enjoyed that interview and did not see the other interview, somewhere on the screen, there will be the first interview that we did together, definitely somewhere. And thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.